boys, we're doing volume of a rectangular prism. So we're just going to break down some of these words and see what they mean. So firstly, of the word prism. A prism is a three-dimensional solid or three-dimensional object where the base shape remains the same throughout the solid. Okay, so it goes from front to back, it stays the same, or from top to bottom, it stays the same. Okay, so if we have a look at this tissue box here, all right, that front face there is a rectangle. And if we turn it around and look at the back face, it's exactly the same rectangle. So from front right through to back, you have the exact same rectangle. Or the same tissue box, you could look at it from this end. So this end here might be its face shape. And if we look at the opposite face on the other side here, where my hand is, it's exactly the same shape. So that's when you know you've got a prism. A rectangular prism, the word rectangular means that that base shape must be a rectangle. So with our tissue box, this is a rectangular prism because that base shape is a rectangle. And it is a prism because it goes all the way through to the other face, the opposite face. Okay, so that's what a rectangular prism is, and that's what we're concentrating on today. So we're looking at what they could look like. So I've drawn one up here. Now I know some of you are going to have trouble drawing these, but I'll show you how to draw them in a minute. But if we just look at, get your red pen and go around that, that's our rectangular base shape. Okay, so that's the front, and if we go through to the back, that back there is the same size shaped rectangle. So this is a rectangular prism. If we look at this one down here, I've tried to draw it so we're looking at the top here to be a rectangle. Now, you might look at it and go, that doesn't look anything like a rectangle, but it has been drawn in 3 dimensions so we can see depth. So what I've done here is marked 4 right angles up there. So you know that that is a rectangle. Then, if you look at it, the opposite face, the one down the bottom, from top to bottom, the bottom one would be the same size rectangle. It's a bit hard to see in a 3-dimensional drawing, but you can imagine it. Okay, so how do we draw these? Well, this is the way I draw it. So I start with a rectangle, and then I draw my lines in to show the depth. Now this is what we do. We go out on an angle like that. Now whatever angle you move on, you've got to stay the same angle with your other lines that go back. So I have to keep this line and this line looking parallel to each other. And then this one as well, make sure it looks parallel. Okay, so we're starting to see how it forms. Then the lines at the back, this is horizontal, so my back has to be horizontal. And I've drawn that a bit long, but that's okay, we can get rid of that in a minute. And this one here is vertical. So we have to draw the back one vertical. And then these extra bits at the back here that we don't need, get rid of those. And your drawing should look okay then. Alright, then you can draw in that dotted line that shows what's going on that we can't see. So we've got a rectangle at the front, we know that we're going to have a rectangle at the back, and then you just join this to here. So that's how you draw them. In an actual test, you won't need to worry about that because they'll be drawn for you, and in your textbook they're drawn for you, so you don't have to redraw them when you do the work for your homework. Alright, so here's our formula. It's V equals L times B times H. The V stands for volume, and the volume is the space inside that we're trying to find. Okay, the L is the length, and B is the breadth, and H is the height. And remember, H is always a perpendicular height. Alright, so what we're doing over here is just finding the volume, underline it with your red pen, for each of these shapes. Now here's the first one, so try and draw it like I just showed you. Pause the video, try and draw that shape properly. Alright, now we start with our formula. I don't want anyone leaving that line out. I want to see in your homework, I want to see 3 lines. Formula, put your numbers in and answer. Alright, so after our formula is written down, V equals L times B times H, we look at it and we go, okay, well, I'm going to look at this being my base shape. Right, so then the length is 17, the breadth is 15, so 17 times 15 times, now the height, it's just the other number left, right, the one you haven't used yet, that's going in over there, 9. If you want to understand why it's 9, it's because it comes off the base rectangle at right angles, that would be our height. Even though it doesn't technically look like a height going up, you could rearrange this shape and it would be the height. Okay, so then we multiply the numbers on the calculator, that's what the calculator gave me, and with volume we write centimetres cubed on the answer. Okay, so in part B, we're starting again with our formula, V equals L times B times H. So in this one, depends which way you look at it, but I'm going to look at this one down the bottom being my rectangular base. So I have a length of 5 and a breadth of 5. So I'm doing 5 times 5 times. Now the height does actually look like the height this time. It always comes away from the base. So off it goes away from the base, and 9 will be my height. So then you go to your calculator and you put in 5 times 5 times 9. And if you do that, I'm going to try and do it in my head and see if I can get it right. We're going to get 225. Then we're going to write centimetres and cubed for volume. All right, now let's look at these two over here. So I've tried to make this look a lot sort of skinnier, just to show it doesn't really matter what it looks like, as long as it looks like a box. A box is a rectangular prism. All right, I haven't even put the dotted lines in the back of this one, but you can imagine if we put them in, this would look like a box. Okay, so we're going to start with our formula, V equals L times B times H. Then we're going to put our length, our breadth and our height in. Now when you do this, as you can see, we're basically multiplying the three numbers in the question. So if you're not sure which way to look at it, just multiply the three numbers. So I'm going to do 33.5 for my length, I'm going to do 1.8 for my height, and I'm going to do 33.5 for my length, 1.8 for my breadth, and my height coming away from the base shape at the front there, coming away from there is 2.4. So now I'm getting my calculator to work this out, because I can't do this one in my head. So 33.5 times 1.8 times 2.4, 144.72. Now this time the units are in metres, so we put metres. And we're doing volume, so we have a cubed there. All right, the next question does not give you a diagram at all. Okay, so all they've done is given you lots of words, but they have told you that it's a rectangular prism. So I want you to underline with your red pen rectangular prism. So we go back to the original part of the question that says find the volume, so we know we're doing volume, of a rectangular prism. All right, and then they've actually said in words what things are. So I'm going to start with our formula. They've told us the length is 4 times. Now the breadth and the width are the same thing. So 2.5 is my breadth times, and they said the height was 1.4. So then you go to your calculator, type in 4 times 2.5 times 1.4, and you'll get 14. Then you write metres and cubes for volume. Okay, we're going to come back in the next video and do some more practice.